This program is brought to you by Thai Vision Media, helping Stokvels and burial societies reach their goals. Welcome to Gizaka Stokvel Insights, a platform where Stokvel and burial society members learn more about the world of business, and business leaders get to understand Stokvels and burial societies a whole lot more. If you would like to answer some questions, or if you have questions rather that you'd like our team to answer, please send us a voice note on 081-596-1065. You can also contact us using the email info@thaivisionmedia.co.za. If you'd like to share some insightful thoughts, please do follow us across the social media platforms below. Today, we look at structure, constitution, and membership growth for investment Stokvels. And once again, joining me in studio is our resident expert guest in this field, Thabiso Masurubele from Thai Vision Media. But before we get into the discussion, this week's question is from Reformo Investment Stokvel.
Good day, Gizaka. We are Reformo Investment Stokvel, and we are a group of young people who collect monthly contributions from our members and invest them in the JSE listed companies, properties, and EFTs. We initially started with 8 members in 2021, and currently we are 42 in number. And over the 2 years, we have collected a total amount of 62,723 to date. We would like you to help us to set the organization up for success in terms of the structure of the organization, being registered with a recognized body like the National Stokvel Association of South Africa, and to also attract new talent to help us grow the Stokvel into a reputable, professional, and profitable organization. The first question is that we as Reformo Investment Stokvel, we use a long-term investment approach to achieve our objectives. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this type of investment? And how can we motivate our members to keep on investing if they will only receive their returns in the long run? The second question is that as we are scattered around the country, how else can we raise funds collectively apart from investing? The third question is it ideal to use a portion of the contributions from the members to buy and print merchandise, for example, t-shirts, cups, etc., and sell it to our members as a way to raise funds? Are there any recommendations you can give us on how we can start making money to cover our costs? We are looking forward to hearing your answers in the future. Thank you so much.
South Africans invest approximately 50 billion rand in Stokvels a year, giving ordinary citizens an opportunity to be key players within the markets through investing and saving. As investment Stokvels continue to grow year on year, it's important for members to ensure that they are registered with credible organizations and also look out for investment opportunities. This show will share information that will help educate you to make the best decision for your Stokvel. Ntate Masurubele, Reformo Investments Stokvel went through some drastic changes since its inception at 2021 by investing in JSE listed companies, properties, and ETFs. From 8 members to 42 within the space of 2 years. That's a rapid growth, accumulating over 60,000 rand as well. So from your perspective, what is your opinion on the current model that they have right now? What are they getting right?
Hi, Nonto. Thanks for the question. I think they're getting a couple of things right. First and foremost, I'd put at the top of that list how they run their group. I think on the back of good administration, you're able to achieve a lot of things. So people are then drawn. You then move from 8 to 40 members because people can see the results of what you're trying to do. And everyone wants to be part of something that's very organized. And also the other thing that they're doing correctly is that they've got a common purpose. They've got a common goal. So they identified that goal. They said, we are an investment Stokvel, and they were quite clear about it. And I think they made sure that everyone who joins the group shares the same vision that they have. So you didn't have different people pulling in different directions, which is this is one of the problems that a lot of groups have, is that down the line, after 6 months, then someone says, no, but I joined because of this particular reason. And then they have to take them back to the constitution. And I think that then leads us to the other thing that they did correct. Their goals, while they had common purpose, it was clearly defined in their constitution. And so they made sure that everyone understood the constitution, and then everyone who joined, they joined on the basis of understanding why they are joining this particular group.
Now, from your experience, do you see a lot of young people, just mobilizing and creating their own investment stokvels?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think what's happened over time is that stokvels have been recognized as this vehicle that has this huge ability to, benefit from the power of collective. So people will tell you that as an individual, it's very difficult for me to save, to invest, or to do certain things. Just fiscal discipline is a very difficult thing. Temptations, we're faced with them every day, financial temptations. And so within the context of a group, you are bound to a particular commitment. And then there are consequences if you don't do that. You get chucked out of a group, but the benefits are greater. So the idea of a stokvel is almost like a carrot and stick approach, where there's huge benefit, but there's also consequences for you. So there's been a huge uptake, especially from youth who've realized that, there's a lot to gain if we do things collectively, because we have more resources and so on. And if I may, maybe just to touch on what we've seen, I think a lot of it is not only used for investment, so it does touch on other areas. So for instance, youth would be saying, I'm young, I want to, see the world. So they go on what they call kontikis. So they'd go on these travel itineraries. And so they'd make a plan as a collective to say it might be cheaper if we club in together and groove. So the idea of clubbing together as youth towards this common goal that we have is something that's definitely on the uptake.
One interesting fact from Reformer Investments as well is how they actually have a big appetite for long-term investments. And you also see this in them being interested in the New York Stock Exchange as well, looking at their listed shares. So what are some of the advantages or disadvantages rather of this approach of sticking to long-term investments?
I think the one advantage that they're looking at, they've got youth on their side. So for them, I think long-term is more palatable because seemingly they've got time on their side. So some of the advantages with long-term investment is stability and growth. So there's this term that's called compounding. So whatever benefits you accrue from your investment, they get reinvested into your investment. And so the growth of your investment over a period of time is steady, but it's definitely going up. So the volatility that might exist in the short term is then balanced out because of the nature of the long-term investment. So it gives you that stability and a certain level of guarantee that, your investment will grow. The disadvantages, the immediate disadvantage is that your resources are locked. They are locked, you don't have access to them. So in the case of a stokvels, more often than not, they invest their money with the expectation that they'll have access to it either after 12 months in December or on a short notice basis, they'll have access to their money. So with long-term investments, typically 3+ years, if you've locked your money in for 3+ years, you're not going to have access to that. So that's sometimes a stumbling block for a lot of stokvels.
Let's just put a pause on that, because we also need to look at just the regulatory environment in South Africa for stokvels and investment stokvels specifically. We will be back with more after the break. Stay with us. Are you a member of a stokvel or burial society? We at Thai Vision Media specialize in helping stokvels and burial societies. Contact us for professional stokvel and burial society administration, access to investments and funeral cover experts, and credible financial information. We will help your stokvel and burial society to achieve your goals and grow. Contact us today. Welcome back to Zaka Stokvel Insights, where we explore the world of stokvels and burial societies. Before the break, we were just touching on the pros and cons of long-term investment approach for investment stokvels, and now we're going to look at the regulatory environment here in South Africa. Ntate Surubele, can you just give us more detail on just the logistics or the structure around South Africa's regulatory environment?
Yeah, so there are two main parts to this aspect. There's the part where you're selling financial products. So if you're in the business as a stokvel, you're providing financial products. So for instance, you're taking monthly premiums from members, and the financial product that you're selling is this funeral cover, where when there's a claim, you then, after you've taken deposits, you go to the bank, withdraw the money to be able to give it to the member who's made a claim. So that would fall under a financial product. In that instance, you can't, not anybody can do that. You have to be registered with a statutory body, which is called the FSCA, the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. So you have to have an FSP number, for the purpose of stokvels. That's where if you are transacting and you are buying a financial product, one of the first things we ask stokvels to do is to make sure that whoever they're buying a financial product from has an FSP number, which then says they've got an FSP license, meaning that regulatory they are allowed to sell financial products. The second level that we look at is the lending of money. So in a lot of stokvels, there are a group of 10, 15 people. So we collect this money and the money is sitting. And then, I face financial difficulties and I then ask the stokvel, can I, lend and borrow has always been a challenge, but can I use some of the money and then you pay it back with interest? So when you're in the business of lending money and getting it back with interest, ordinarily you have to be registered with the National Credit Regulator. So stokvels are exempt from registering with the NCR.
How so?
They are exempt because stokvels, what they are allowed to do is that if you are lending and borrowing amongst yourselves as a group, there's a provision that you don't have to be registered with the NCR, provided that you are a member of that stokvel. So if we are a group of 15 people and we, exchanging money and we're paying with interest to the stokvel, there's no need to register with the NCR. The minute that we lend someone who's not part of the stokvel the money, then we have to be registered with the National Credit Regulator. The other provision is that if we are collecting money and at any given time we're sitting at 100,000 Rand or less, the threshold is 100,000 Rand, we don't have to register with any regulatory body. If our deposits exceed 100,000 Rand, we have to be registered with a voluntary association, which is recognized by the bank registrar. You then have to register with that authority, being a stokvel which has money in excess of 100,000. So those are the two main regulatory things that affect stokvels in terms of, are we allowed to lend money? What's the regulatory environment there? And in terms of, are we then allowed to take premiums and sell what essentially is a financial product to our members?
There's a lot of terms and conditions, especially loopholes, found within this. And thank you very much for just unpacking that for us. I'd like to believe that our viewers have more of an idea of what to expect when joining an investment stokvel. But just looking at the second challenge, or the first challenge rather, that Reformo has, which is, how do you motivate members to stay, and not leave, especially not be frantically panicking on what's happening in the markets. Long-term investments, there's a lot of staying power, if we can say. So how can they motivate their members more?
Yeah, I think they've already started that process. So once you've got a common purpose and you've got a goal, and you stay steadfast to that goal, and you're able to show what the benefits of that long-term investments are going to be, then you're more, you're in a position to be able to convince people to stay within the group. But there has to be clarity, and you have to make sure that you share the information to say that, yes, this is long-term. We do have youth on our side, but let's plan for long-term. So you've joined the stokvel. Our constitution clearly stipulates that we are not in it for the short term. We are building some sort of legacy, financial legacy. And the building of a legacy is something that happens over a period of time. And so once Lufuno Stokvel, Investment Stokvel, is then able to articulate to the different members, those who are currently within the group or prospective members, to say that we are focused on long-term investing, but these are the benefits. These are the instruments that we've used for our long-term investment. This is our projected outlook in the next 3 to 5 years. And then people start to get a sense of what they can look forward to. And then people plan on the basis of what they'll be earning in 3 to 5 years, as opposed to what they'll be getting in 12 months. And I think the big challenge is when people come in and they're not aware of what a long-term investment means. And then their expectation is that 12 months is a long-term investment. So I give you money every month from January, and I'm expecting that, my definition of long-term is 12 months. So in December, I'm expecting my return, which are the premiums that I've been paying. So they've got to make sure that they clearly explain to people that it will be more than 12 months, but the benefit will be greater than what you would receive in your 12 months.
I think after the break, we would need to touch on what are the strategies that they can implement to recruit more members as well, because with growth, there's a lot of money to be shared amongst members. So let's take a short break. Stay tuned for more on Gizaka Stokvel Insights. Are you a member of a Stokvel or burial society? We at Thai Vision Media specialize in helping Stokvels and burial societies. Contact us for professional Stokvel and burial society administration, access to investments and funeral cover experts, and credible financial information. We will help your Stokvel and burial society to achieve your goals and grow. Contact us today. Welcome back to Gizaka Stokvel Insights. If you've just joined us, our focus is on Rifumo Investment Stokvel that has recruited 42 members within the space of 2 years by investing in local and global markets. I'm still with my co-host and resident guest expert, Thabiso Masurubele from Thai Vision Media. Numzani, we were just talking about how to motivate, or how Rifumo Investment Stokvel can motivate their members to stay. How can they recruit more individuals to join the group itself? I can imagine that with young people, patience, young people don't have a lot of patience. So what strategies can they implement?
Look, I think generally speaking, people are attracted to success. And then success has different definitions. But people generally like to see something that's good, that's positive, and then they're drawn to that. So one of the things that they should do, it's actually something that will help the group themselves. And it will automatically draw people to them. And those are simple things such as being organized. Being able to see when they've got a meeting, arranging a meeting venue, starting on time, keeping minutes, making sure you've got an agenda, and then everything is run in an orderly fashion. And I think once people are exposed to how they manage their group, and they should deliver on the things that they promise. Once they all abide by their constitution and they do things in a particular way, if they decide on having a uniform, then everyone should then have the same uniform, keeping the same uniform. What that does, people then will not want to join you based on what you say, but they will want to join your Stokvel based on what they see. And what they see will be a successful group of people who are actually taking the group forward and benefiting as individuals. So there's this thing called word of mouth, which is a bit more powerful than, if you were going to put up a banner in your surroundings saying, join Rifumo Stokvel. But instead of that, having people, who've joined and said, I'm very happy at Rifumo. We do things in an orderly fashion. There's transparency when it comes to how our money is managed. Every time I pay over my money, I know exactly where it goes At the end of the month, I get a report on how our money is being used, how it's been invested, what the returns are, and all of these things. So you're more likely to get people joining on the back of getting positive comments from people who've experienced Refumo, as opposed to them going out on a campaign just to woo people and not keeping the promises that they're saying. So I'd say they must continue focusing on running their Stokvel well and delivering on the things that they promised that individual members would get.
And we see those elements quite well here. I mean, 42 members across the country. They touched on how they want to look at other ways of having to raise funds as well. What approach can they implement here? What opportunities are out there for them?
I think the immediate opportunity actually is linked to the fact that they're scattered across the country. So ordinarily, you'd imagine that you have a group of people that's scattered around the country, so that makes it difficult for them to administer. But the advent of technology has assisted this process, where you're able to have a group, even though, you know, someone might be in Cape Town and someone in Limpopo and so on, you're still able to have a Stokvel because they can still have their meetings via technological platforms and make sure that they run their group. So one of the advantages is that it means they're a national group. They're not localized. So already having a national footprint might be an advantage. So there are different things they can look at. What we always say is that instead of, you know, looking at, you know, different channels and television stations and so on, what you then ought to look at are your immediate surroundings. Look at where the opportunities are. More often than not, you find that one member of the group might have an idea to start a business. Whether, you know, if you go to Limpopo, you know, one might be looking at starting an avocado farm.
Or even closer, with them having an idea of investing in a printing or investing in printing merchandise as well.
100%. So
would that be viable for them to do?
Absolutely, it would be viable for them. And that would do two things. One, it would promote the group, but it also generates revenue for them. What they then do is that they then print this merchandise that they've branded as Lufuno Stokvel, but they sell it to their members. So you don't get it for free as a member. You have to buy it. And then they could encourage maybe their members to buy for family members, or encourage family members to buy. So you'll find that each of the 42 members can at least maybe have 10 sales to 10 family members and then sell that merchandise that way. And then you build from that. Once they're getting into merchandise, they then look at what other things are required within the local community.
But then they had stated that in order to invest in print merchandise is to sell to the members and not necessarily to the community.
Yes, but they can extend it. They can extend it. So if you're selling to the members alone, you're selling to 42 people. But if you then say each of the 42 people must take 5 T-shirts and sell to 5 family members, your revenue then increases, because then the family members are associated with Lufuno investment through you as a member. And then what that does, it increases your revenue base. You can then, and you also don't have to, once you have the capacity to buy T-shirts and merchandise them, or merchandise different things, you don't have to do it for Lufuno only, Refuno only. You can then do it for different things. If there's a local business which employs people, you can then approach them and say, we've got capacity, we've built a capacity that merchandises, you know, clothing or tools of trade or whatever it is. You then extend it as an opportunity to say there's a garage, you know, a petrol station that requires uniform. You then approach them to say, we can actually create branded merchandise for you. And that becomes a revenue stream. So that talks to identifying opportunities within your locality, like I was saying. So within the 42 people, there's a great chance that one or more within those 42 are already running a small business that might need upscaling. So what you end up having is that instead of looking elsewhere, you then look at how you can invest in someone who already has the blueprint and a business plan, and they just require additional resources to grow. Then it doesn't become an individual business, but it becomes a business that was where Refuno invest in a business that's going to be successful and belongs to Refuno.
So word of mouth, diversify, look for investment opportunities, and organize.
100%.
Investment stokvels are an important pillar of the economic value chain, which is why it's essential for business leaders to understand the inner workings of stokvels. It's also important for members to understand the goals outlined by the investment stokvel so that they can move together in the same direction. If your stokvel needs to know more about this broad topic, contact us using the details on the screen. Until next week, it's goodbye for now.
This program was brought to you by Thai Vision Media, helping stokvels and burial societies reach their goals.